Let's welcome in now criminal defense attorney Eric Schwartzreich and psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Bober. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let's start with the forensic psychologist brought in by the prosecution. He found Clancy's account of suffering these hallucinations to be unconvincing. Dr. Bober, give us your impression.
Well, of course, I don't agree with that. I have treated postpartum psychosis, and the symptoms wax. They wane, they're episodic, they're inconsistent. You can have delusions at one time, you can have hallucinations at another time. So I find this to be wholly inconsistent. I think the problem here is that postpartum psychosis is a rare diagnosis. It's easy to miss, and in this case, there could have been better collaboration, communication, consultation. I think medications were added and discontinued too abruptly. There was not communication between providers. But in this particular case, to me, not having examined the defendant, I do find that there is significant evidence to point to the fact that she had postpartum psychosis, which again is 1 in 2 out of every 1,000 births. And out of that number, 3 to 4% will go on to kill their children. So I am unconvinced by the prosecution expert, and I understand that they're trying to undermine the defense theory. But in my mind, I think there's significant evidence here that she lacked the intent and the capacity to commit this crime.
Let's talk about the prescription drugs in this case, because there was a very long list, a lot of different doctors prescribing different things. And it's, this happens all over the medical field, especially with women in this type of situation. You think about seniors and all the medications that they are on. What is the answer here? Because clearly there needs to be someone able to jump in and say, you can't mix all these drugs together, doctor.
Well, the doctor was relatively inexperienced. She had just graduated her residency. And I actually think some of the medications that she prescribed may have exacerbated or worsened the underlying condition. One of the things we ask people before we start antidepressants is, have you ever had periods of activation? Have you ever had periods of antidepressant-induced activation? Do you have a family history of bipolar disorder? And obviously, are you suffering from bipolar disorder? These are all risk factors that would suggest that adding some of the medications, particularly the SSRIs, would have worsened her condition. So I think there was too much abrupt change here with not enough information, which I think was a terrible combination.
So, Eric, when you look at what we just heard from the doctor there, give us your thoughts on how the defense is using that type of information and how you think the jury might see it.
I think the defense here has done a masterful job. Most jurors do not like or accept sanity type of defenses. Here in Massachusetts, even though it's a lower standard, the McHowell standard, criminal responsibility, they have a difficult time understanding that. And here, there are 3 children that were murdered. But what the defense has done here has created reasonable doubt, but not only that, has actually shown through the experts, the witnesses that they have called, that there was a psychosis here, and that here was a woman that was crying out for help, that was trying to get the help, that was asking for medications, that was asking, please, please help me, and that help wasn't given. And then they brought in evidence of that voice command, the voice telling her to do this. The doctor here is talking about the psychosis. And I do think that that dog will hunt here, and that is what we have. And the problem for the prosecution in this case is the burden of proof in this jurisdiction, unlike other states, traditionally it's called the McNaughton standard, whether or not you just appreciate the consequences of the actions here, and it's on the defense to make the burden. The prosecution has to prove that she doesn't understand right from wrong, and that she could not conform to her conduct to stop this behavior, to stop the killings. And I think all the evidence that's been presented, there is a good chance of success in a not guilty by lack of not criminally responsible in this case.
I don't want to get too far ahead of the situation here, but based on what you both said, Dr. Bober, if Clancy is found guilty due to insanity, what type of facility will she be transferred to, and what does the near-term, short-term, mid-term, long-term look like for her?
She will likely be assessed by the court, and if it's determined that she meets criteria, she'll be committed involuntarily to a psychiatric facility until the court deems that she's safe to return to society, which could be a long time. But listen, there are no winners in this case. It's either going to be punishment or treatment, but I have seen sufficient evidence that I believe would suggest that there is a very strong case here for her not to be criminally responsible. And I push back on the prosecution's contention that just because the husband went out to run errands and that's when she committed the crime, that was evidence of planning or intent or premeditation. And the reason is that because people can commit crimes when they're under the influence of delusion and still have normal everyday functioning, like brushing their teeth or washing the dishes. Just because she did it when her husband was out running errands doesn't mean that she was not psychotic at the time and under the influence of the delusion.
Well, this trial has so many people's attention right now for all the reasons you guys just talked about. We'll be obviously watching it very closely, and we'd love to have you both back as we wait for the deliberations and the verdict. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.